welcome to the 5th episode of Conversations with Kone. I'm your host, and my guest today is Mahie Tsuya. Mahie made his debut at Ebita 2 in 2008, although became more prominent comparatively from 2010 onward. He is a long-standing Marth main, but has recently made the switch to Fox. Mahie is currently ranked 2nd in France, and was ranked 20th by Smash Europe in 2016. In today's episode, we will discuss Mahie's history in the Smash scene, his switch from Marth to Fox, the current state of the French melee scene, as well as his thoughts on choking, shaving the timer, and changing from PAL to NTSC in Europe. You can follow me on @ConvoCone and @BigGoodTV, and you can follow Mahie on SSB Mahie, that's Mahie. Hey Mahie.
Hey Ed.
Hey dude. So a little bit of history for folks. Me and Mahie have actually known each other for quite some time now. I think we met, back in 2010, dude.
I'm pretty sure that was the first time, yeah. SNY.
Yeah, SNY, man, SNY. I think
it's been a while. It's been a few years.
Yeah, man, it's like a good 7 years. That's closer to a decade than not. So
it's crazy when you think about it. It's been 10 years. It's 10 years, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. And I think, was that the one where I was living in a pretty terrible house and I housed you guys? I think there was like a group of you Frenchies, about 10 years for like a week or something.
I think we got to your place on like the Wednesday or something, and then we left on the Monday. So basically a week, yeah. And I remember like the weekend, it was really crowded. And you had a couple dogs, I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
It was you, Kate, and then like 30 people or 40 people in your house.
Yeah.
I remember it was really crowded and really hard to sleep, which is basically impossible to sleep.
Yeah, because that's where we pretty much used the pub next door as like another room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
the pub was fun though. Yeah, I remember that as well. That was pretty cool with the Germans.
Yeah.
Good times.
That's where we met, that's where I met Fex for the first time as well, Usleon and those lads. And pretty much it was just, myself, yourself.
Love at first sight.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. That's it. Was SNY your actual first out of country tournament then?
I'm not entirely sure, but let's say it's the first big travel that I did, because I might have gone to Holland beforehand, but from Lille, where I live, it's a couple hours drive, so it's not a big deal, It's out of country, but not really. It's not the same as going from Lille to like halfway across England.
Yeah, well,
so it was my first tournament that I actually traveled for a while, for a full day travel.
It's kind of one of those issues we have with Heir, with the UK being an island. You can't just do what you can do for sort of Germany or the Netherlands or Belgium, where you can kind of get a group of you in a car. It is a much bigger kind of commitment to make that travel. So,
and you guys drive on the left, so that's very fucking scary. And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty scary.
All right, dude. So I've done this. Okay, I've done France, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands. I've done the drive. I've done Newcastle. So this is for those with not great geography of England. Newcastle's up near the Scottish border. I've done Newcastle down to the coast, got on the ferry, or I've done the Eurotunnel across to France. And then I've done this for holidays with the missus and the family. Done France. I've drove through Belgium, drove Netherlands, drove to Germany. It's not that hard, right?
I don't know.
It really isn't.
How was it the first time? The first time you got into a roundabout, how did it feel?
Yeah, okay, I crapped myself a bit.
I think you get lost. I don't know. Like I don't know, because even when I'm in a car in London, like let's say a Uber or like something, if I'm sitting in the front, it drives me crazy, man. Like being on the wrong side of the car,
you jump a lot,
on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Every time we're about to turn, like I get almost sick, because my eyes, they're used to stuff and it doesn't happen, and the opposite happens. So I'm like, this is gonna end in an accident, and I'm not very happy or confident.
Yeah, it's same with motorways. Overtaking on motorways, that's bizarre as well.
Maybe it might be easier if you're behind the wheel, because then you have control, right? Because it felt like I was with a driving noob, and there was nothing I could do, But then again, he knew what he was doing, right? Because he's used to driving on the other side, but I wasn't. So
it's weird though, because I think it's kind of those maybe a bit of like the old idea of fight or flight. It's kind of like I'm now on the other side of the road. I have to actually drive, and I have to drive safely, or else I'm going to kill myself and everyone in the car. So yeah, I think you
I'm guessing you take it slow at first, and then you get used to it, right?
Yeah, that's it. And to be honest, most of the time you're not really doing city driving. You kind of on motorways. The motorways get you used to driving on that side of the road, and then by the time you get to a city, it's at that point, you know, you're kind of way more confident in your ability to drive on the side of the road, and you're ready somewhat for the roundabouts. But yeah, I keep on saying this to everyone for Heir. Get yourself over on a car, but it's not really happened. Saying that, yeah, back to SNY. 2010, was that, you know, I kind of said in the introduction, that's when you started playing competitively. Did you start before that? I mentioned sort of Epita back in 08.
Yeah. My first tournament was ESA 2, so it was February of 2008. And my first time playing the game, as in playing Melee and being aware of what Melee is at a competitive level, was summer of 2007. And I think in that same year, in December, I got to play Fuzziness because I was visiting my uncle in London, and he came to my place. And he was like, dude, why are you playing in 50 hertz? This is not how the game should be played. So I knew nothing. I knew basically nothing. It was pretty cool. But yeah, ESA 2 first tournament. But back in the day, I was like 15. It was basically just me and Samplay in our region in Lille. We had no cars. We lived pretty far away from each other, like an hour by like public transports. So we didn't get to play often, maybe once a month. And we attended maybe one tournament a year. So that's not serious, so to speak. But a little bit later, 2010, that's when another friend joined us in Lille, Seb, whom also came with me to SNY. Actually, it was our first tournament together. And from that point on, because he had, it was a bit older, he had a license, he could drive. So we got to go to Paris more often. We started like hosting tournaments in Lille. So 2010 onwards, second half of 2010, that's when we really started developing ourselves and playing more and attending more events. So that would be the real start, I would say.
And how did you actually get into Smash in the first place then, Mahie? So you kind of, was it, you saw out players in your area? You know, I'll let you explain.
I was playing this game called Guns to Duel on PC. It's a crazy game. It's a really fun game. And of course, I played Melee when I was younger. When I was a kid, I would play with my friends, and 64 as well, like casually. And one of the people I was playing Guns with ran like out of nowhere. He came up to me and he was like, "Oh, do you know Smash?" I was like, yeah, sure, dude. I would fuck you up in Smash. Like I play Roy, dude. My Roy is so good, and I'm so good with the items. Like you don't know how good I can like throw a mine and then do stuff with it. I was like, yeah. But do you know Smash? And they're like, yeah, I just told you. I was like, take a look at that video. And then he sent me the advanced how to play Melee.
Yeah.
Wax. That's very old. I think it just came out. Like when he sent it to me, I think it came out middle of 2007. So when it came out, that's when I learned about it. That's when I learned about Melee. And then the same person told me, oh, you should go to this board, this website. It's the French community. That's where they hang out. That's where they talk about tournaments. So I went there. I introduced myself. And then this guy told me, oh, I'm also from the same area. My name is Samplay. We should play. I'm like, okay. And my mom was like, oh, I will drive you to his place, but I want to meet his mom. I want to make sure he's not like a 40-year-old pedophile. Because that was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, people had a very different opinion of the internet.
Completely different, Mahie. And that might sound really weird to people now. But it's a conversation, because I started TOing in 2003. And it's a conversation for probably the first 5, maybe even longer years that I used to have with parents. So parents would... players would want to attend an event that I was hosting, and that they would then ask me over the internet if their parents could speak to me first. And I would literally have parental conversations on the phone, and pretty much they would kind of.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and but then I got an email the other day from a parent. No, actually, I have these. I had this for Heir 2, 3, 4, of course, as well. I've had various ones already this year from parents just saying, my son wants to come to Heir. Is that okay? So it's kind of the other way around now. It's not even, no sort of check-in. It's just kind of, expected that.
Yeah, they're worried maybe they're worried maybe the kids are too young or something, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I feel like that's what happens nowadays compared to what happened before, where they were kind of afraid, of stuff happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was the unknown, the internet. What is the internet? What is this? What is MSN? What is all this stuff? So things have changed a lot from then. But it was the same in France. Like I remember, when I went to ESA, I had to sign something. I had to get my parents to sign something because I was less than 16 years old. And I remember Slowcat telling me, if I need to call your parents, don't worry, I will. Just give me the numbers. I will reassure them if need be. And he did it for a lot of people as well, not just me. So
yeah, same thing.
Definitely an issue.
But it's the same with the internet. It just shows how how fast technology has improved and social media has improved. You're talking about the video you watched to get into the game that your mate sent you. Like, we used to have to download things from the DC. Was it the DCC hub? Was it?
I've never been in a community when that was around. Like, I've never heard about it. Like, when I came into Melee, that was already a thing of the past, to be honest.
Was it? No, it was the way we got videos to begin with. Well, it's still, even for when you got into the community, the fact that getting access to videos was still hard compared to now, which it's just there. Yeah,
there were no streams. Like, I remember, like, I would get back home from high school, and then I would go to YouTube and go to, like, Waffles channel or something and hope for Genesis matches to be uploaded or hope for something to be uploaded, because there was no other way to get, like, videos or like footage. You had to wait for stuff to happen.
There was that AJP Anton was doing a lot of local recording at events in Europe, but again, it was kind of uploaded to his website and anyway, kind of went off track there a little bit. So basically, you got into it via playing with Samplay properly.
It was the first player I met.
Yeah,
and we still play together up to this day. Like, we played together last night.
I was about to say, I didn't realize Samplay was actually that old school. For those who don't know Samplay, listeners, Samplay is top 20 France.
More even better. I would say when he's on point, he's definitely top 10. But lately he hasn't had the same motivation he used to have. So, but I have no doubt in my mind that if he gets motivated, then it will be a serious contender for, like, top 7, top 10 in France.
Yeah, like any Smash player who's been in the community for a long time, you kind of, it goes up and down, doesn't it? Motivation and commitment to the game. Life comes in, and you have to kind of just mellow out a little bit. It's it's something that top players have to. And I don't mean, when I say top players, I'm not talking like the Armada level, because that's their career. I'm just talking kind of. Yeah,
it's still another level, right?
Yeah.
You mean like passionate people, like amateurs?
Yeah,
like
top
pro.
Yeah, so you kind of had the pros,
so to speak.
Yeah, pros have their careers like Armada and Leffen, and then the tier below that, the top players. It's kind of top 10 in each country. They've just got to be careful not to burn out. You've got to get the balance right, and it's very easy to balance out burn out of this game.
Yeah.
Last little bit. Go on, dude.
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say even like top players, like tier 1 players, sometimes they get burned out. I remember Armada saying, I know this tournament is worth this much money and I'm this likely to win, but I'd rather just chill with my family. I remember Ice last year at Heir was like, oh, dude, I'm too burned out, too many tournaments. I just want to chill. I want to play Falcon. I want to see people. I want to talk to people. I want to have a good time, but just I don't want to hold the controller right now. Maybe to have fun, but
yeah. Well,
so I think everyone, sometimes it goes up, it goes down. You're not motivated. You don't know why you're playing or what you're looking for. So breaks sometimes are good, or like how would you call it? I'm looking for a word I'm not going to find, so we can move on, I think.
All right, last one for Smash history then, Mahie. Kind of like getting your history. So I think this is an obvious one anyway, but I've asked everyone so far. The tag, Mahie, is, I'm guessing, just a shortened version of your first name.
It is, yeah. It's been my nickname for a long time. Before Smash, even nowadays, people that have no idea about Smash, people that don't play video games, they will call me Mahie anyway. So it's nothing special really. Like everyone calls me Mahie.
Mahie Dean's an interesting first name anyway. Is it a popular French name?
No, it's Algerian because I wasn't born in France. I was born in Algeria, and I came to France when I was like 3 years old. But even in Algeria, it's not that popular or that spread out. That's pretty rare.
Yeah, as I say, it's not a name that I've came. Obviously, if it's Algerian, it's not. I'm not being to Algeria, so I'm not fully aware of the first names across there. But it's not a name I've came across very often either way.
Nah, yeah. No wonder.
Yeah,
I've only met a few in my life.
Yeah, that'll be it. So in terms of recent Smash rather than historical Smash here, Mahie, you recently made a switch main-wise from Marth to Fox. Now, this was seen kind of at HF Land 2017, where you finished 9th, and you actually went really close with Android 3-2 set.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about a lot of our listeners, but I know myself when I was watching HF Land 2017, it was kind of like, I don't know, it hurt. Like, I was like, Mahie's playing Fox. What is he doing?
Yeah, I went back and saw the set again so I could learn from my mistakes, you know. And I realized the whole chat was like, oh, why the Fox? Go back to Marth. Go back to Marth. Why is this Fox? Like, I lost game 1, and then they were like, oh, of course you're going to lose with Fox. You should switch to Marth. But dude, my Fox did better than my Marth ever did against Android. Like, last time I played Android, it was at Eclipse, and I got demolished. It was 3-0, not close, like triple 3 stocks or something. So I'm pretty glad I stuck with Fox this time around.
So is this a complete change, Marth to Fox?
No, it's not a complete change. The thing is with Marth, basically the reason I switched is because Marth got a bit dull, a bit bland. And I think this is something I've always had. You know, when I first started, even SNY, I would play a lot of characters. I would literally switch in the same set to like 3 characters if I had to, if I could. If I win, I would switch. If I lost, I would switch anyway. And you know, I think it was very hard for me to settle myself down to play one character for a long time. And it might be coming back to bite me in the ass, you know, because I'm getting a bit bored of Marth, especially in the slower matchups. So I've always played Fox in friendlies, and recently it's been more fun to play Fox and less fun to play Marth. And when I play Marth, it's just kind of frustrating. It doesn't feel like stuff is flowing naturally. Like, my hands don't really do stuff on their own like they do with Fox, for instance. So yeah, I switched to Marth to Fox. I mean, for most matchups, but I will still play Marth against Fox and Falco, most likely. Maybe a couple other matchups. I'm not entirely sure at the moment. But it's not a full switch. I'm keeping Marth for at least Fox. Falco, I'm not so sure. I like the matchup with Fox and Marth. Falcon, I'm not so sure. Ice Climbers, I'm not so sure. But I will definitely be dual maining going forward.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better that we're dual maining. I thought this was just a complete switch to Fox.
Nah.
Because I think
no way.
if we lose your Marth, Mahie, who does that leave us with? Just Reaper? In terms of...
sorry, come again. If we lose my Marth, I didn't hear you.
Yes, yeah, no, it's all right. If we lose...
It kind of glitched out.
Yeah, it's all right. If we lose your Marth, I'm just thinking on a kind of Europe scale, it leaves us with pretty much just Reaper's Marth. So I can't really think of any other... this is where I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit sad because I think Europe has always... I mean, in the recent couple of years, Europe has had a top 3 when it comes to Marth. We're all basically the same level-ish. It's Reaper, Beat from Sweden,
yeah,
and myself. But Beat is busy with life, and Reaper, his motivation goes up and down. I think there's a bit of beef in the German community as well, so maybe that's a factor in losing motivation. I'm not so sure. I know that there's beef between like Reaper and Dumbling and stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure on the details, but I've seen stuff happen. I've seen like pop-ups that were so intense because there was a lot on the line in terms of pride, and it's not friendly. That's what I'm going to say. I don't think it's friendly. But so Reaper a bit on the down low recently as well.
Yeah, he's just came back, hasn't he, from a bit of a hiatus.
Right.
He's a bit on the Twitch. I don't know how to put it, practice at the moment. I think there's I think it's Icebreakers coming up in Germany that they're practicing for. And then obviously from speaking to Reaper, he'll be at Heir, or should be at Heir.
Awesome.
So
that's good to hear.
Yeah, should see him back then. But yeah, Beat's obviously been out of the picture for a while now. He wasn't.
Yeah.
I think he's been inactive since probably B6 maybe. So.
Yeah, probably. I think that's the last time I remember him playing at a tournament. Or something like that. But it was getting really good. Like I remember him taking a game of Armada or something.
Yeah.
And definitely taking left into game 5. Or I'm not entirely sure about what I'm talking about, but what I'm sure about is that he's very, very good. For sure. Probably the cleanest Marth in Europe. Because Reaper is Reaper. He plays a Marth that makes no sense. I'm a big fan, but sometimes you look at it and you're like, no, that's bullshit, dude. Don't do that. And Beat is the Marthist of all the Marth in Europe, I would say.
Yeah, it's one of those where you just, players like that, it's a tad bit frustrating when they drop off just from a kind of a European tournament TOing side of it, because obviously I want to see the Reapers at events. I want to see Beat at events. Another one that dropped off a while ago was Hack in Sweden as well. So you kind of like lost. I know he's not a Marth, but you lost kind of another.
But he's a really cool guy. So
yeah, he is.
Yeah, a lot of him. But I think he's come back to playing a little bit. I'm not sure. I think he plays Puff maybe or something.
Yeah, he does.
Or
Yeah.
Peach.
But it was just having he's another major Swedish player, along with Beats, that's kind of just gone amiss in the last few years. Anyway, just something I noticed, Mahie, just, we chatted about the dual main and you're finishing 9th against Android and it being a wee bit closer than it had been before. I scanned down your results, obviously, before this podcast, just do my, just seeing where we're at. And here's some of your results from the last year and a bit. HF LAN 2017, you got 9th. DreamHack Winter, you got 9th. Kickstart 11th, which I think was the large Kickstart, you got 9th. Syndicate 13th. Heir 3 9th. Beast 6 13th. There's a bit of a pattern, dude.
Yep. Top 16 always. Top 8 never.
So
it's been
why?
Bit of a curse. Why?
Big question. Why?
Well, there's one obvious explanation. I am just not good enough. That's very simple. Like, I think half of these tournaments I lost to Prof in losers or something. So he's better than me. He's definitely taking it more seriously than I am with all the trips to America, the constant practice.
Yeah. Have you seen the joke in the UK community where we now say Prof is American?
I haven't, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a meme in the community.
Yeah, Aaron Thomas, the PM, the American PM player, right?
Yeah,
the American Snake. That would be him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not so sure. There's also something about nerves. I'm not very good at playing under pressure. I think it's hard for me to play liberated, when nerves kick in. So it's something I'm trying to deal with over time.
I was gonna mention this later on, which is, you're pretty cool to follow on Twitter, and if people aren't following you, it's SSB Mahie, again spelled Mahie. And in terms of your Twitter, you're pretty loud in terms of your kind of opinion on the melee landscape, and it's always a pretty informed opinion in that sense. And I like to see what you're tweeting out there. And you did actually mention recently choking. I think it kind of came on the back end of HF LAN and Inheritance, which, just for people listening, Inheritance was a kind of smaller European event ran by Hyper's team, led by Electric in Belgium, and I think their intention is to try grow it into something much bigger, which I hope happens. But I did see you kind of mentioned about choking, so is that something that's happening often?
Yeah, I would say it happened often, and Inheritance was especially like unnerving because I got to play Zighetto in winter semis, and we've played a couple of times in the past, and every time we play it's like a choke fest from both of us. So it's a bit sad. And then in winter semis, he played like crap, Zighetto. Nothing went right for him. And that was also sad because I won 3-0, but it was not a good set. Like I didn't earn it properly. He just gave it to me with the SDs and just freezing on the spot and stuff like that. And then we played again in loser finals. And the same thing happened, but this time around we were both choking. So then he took it 3-1 or something. But it was a sad set with no combos, nothing happening, just straight hits, nothing clean, nothing prepared, nothing planned. So when you play sets like that, like even if you win them, it's just like, you know, depressing a little bit because it's not very fun to play that kind of melee.
So for people
So when
listening,
I came home, I was like, oh, dude, this sucked. Like the set we played, it just sucked. And I just want to fix it, you know.
So in
because
terms
when you
yeah, sorry, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just jumping in there, just for people listening. By choking, do you want to kind of expand on what do you mean by choking? Like, is it mental? Is it physical? Is it both?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it originates from the mental, but then it gets to you physically as well. Basically, choking is when you start thinking, because you're not supposed to think too much. You're supposed maybe to think to the level of single words like attack, dodge, roll, grab, or something. I don't know how people do it, but the more you start thinking and thinking about stuff that's especially outside the game, like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I'm not supposed to lose that. Oh, you can do better. Focus, stuff like that, right? And the more you start dispersing your thoughts and your mind, and then just stuff doesn't happen anymore because you start doubting yourself. You start second guessing your stuff, your combos, and then you're too late. And then that snowballs, and then you think more, and then you try to stop it, but it's even worse. Like, we could compare it to trying to fall asleep and then thinking about falling asleep. It's never going to happen, right? When you're in your bed and you're like, oh, I need to fall asleep. I need to fall asleep. That could last for 3 hours. It just doesn't help to think about it. And choking is a bit of the same. And then you try to play, but you can't for some reason. And your hands start also, like, you think you pressed the button, but you didn't. So nothing happens on screen and you get punished for it. And melee is a very, very, very rough game in terms of what it demands from the players. So even the smallest of mistakes can snowball into a stock. So choking is not good at all.
Yeah, it's obviously something, you know, if you do a very quick Google or have a look on Amazon, there's a lot of information out there on choking in sports, and it's not just in sports. I know that. As an example, for those who are unaware, I'm a secondary school teacher, and what we actually do every year is we have our year 12, year 13 have exams, so that's kind of like 18, 17-year-olds. Then our 16-year-olds have exams as well, so they're like, you know, national exams. And every year, just before exam season, our management, they ask us to identify the students that we teach that choke in exams, that we know have exam nerves and freeze in exams, and they actually get a specialist in on a yearly basis to kind of sit down and basically teach these students skills and ways to identify when the choke's going to happen, and then triggers to prevent themselves from actually choking. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's a thing that started a few years back, and you always have it. You know, I'll teach a student who is like an A grade student, which, you know, a different obviously education system. A grade is kind of one of the best grades you can get, and then you know, it comes out in the summer. She's done or he's done their exams, and they got a C, so 2 grades below what you'd expect them to get. You talk to that student, and they just say they froze, and it you know, it happens all the time. So it's not just sports, but
no, it's anything that involves performing. You know, anything that involves performing in a closed environment where you have something to lose. Like musicians as well. Like I used to play the piano in music school, and I remember the first time I played in front of people, I basically played the song at twice the speed because I was so scared and stressed out that I wanted it to be over as soon as possible. So even though you practice the thing and you played it like 1,000 times in the same exact way, it's never the same as in a true situation. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, and what I think I was trying to get out there for you, Maya, is have you gone out there yet to look for help in terms of the choking? Maybe not a specialist, or maybe sort of getting some sort of academic, book, or looking on kind of YouTube and that sort of thing.
I haven't gone to anyone specific, but I've been reading books. Like I read the Inner Guide to Tennis that Leffen recommended to me at some point. I read the Art of Learning, and I basically read books that they talk about sports psychology and performance psychology as well. But I haven't talked to anyone specific outside of like other Smash players who most often have the same problem. Not all of them, but it's not. It's a pretty spread out problem in the Smash community,
If you just give me a bell afterwards, or in a couple of days or whatnot, I've got quite a lot of literature that could help. It's not exactly to do with choking, but it's all kind of similar to the books that you just mentioned, but kind of they're ones that we use as teachers to help performance and coaching of students, because it's kind of that side of teaching's forgot a lot. It's not just about delivering knowledge, is we have to coach students as well. So we have quite a lot of literature. It's called pedagogy, basically the art of teaching. So I can, send you a link to some books that I think, would help.
Yeah, I'd be definitely interested. I won't forget. Just
out of interest, would this be linked to the contract at Heir 3 last year, Maya? Because UV Mint, it started well, and then it kind of it snowballed.
I know.
Yeah,
it snowballed. Dang, he destroyed me, man. But it was a good set. That's an okay set, because I didn't play very well, but he played really well, so it's fine. That's okay. It's a bit disappointing again to lose to yourself rather than losing to the other one. But
is it yourself, Mahie, or is it yourself, or is it the player you're against? Is it the crowd, or is it just purely you and in your head? I think
it's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to tell. That's actually a good question, because if you can pinpoint the origin, then it's easier to solve it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Afterwards. But I'm not entirely sure. The crowd doesn't help, but sometimes I don't mind it. It's kind of random. It depends on the mood as well. Like if you're tired, sometimes it's harder to keep your emotions in check. If you're in perfect shape, that's fine. Maybe sometimes you don't even think about it, and you just sit down and you play. But it's also about experience, because I would never choke at a pool level, Like in European tournaments, if I'm playing pools, I'm fine. Like even if I have to play on stream against a pool player, it's okay. So it's also about the stakes, I feel like. So when you play, for instance, the contract, and it's something, you hold dear, like you want to win because it matters to you, then there's more to lose. And when there's more to lose, there's more problems alongside.
Yeah, the crowd at Heir is pretty loud as well.
Yeah, but I don't mind the crowd at Heir, because, I would say the UK community is kind of like my second community from when I was living in London. So I got to meet a lot of these guys and chill with them. So even like if they cheer for Mint, or if they do whatever, I don't really mind it. It's still kind of comfortable. I still feel at home, so to speak.
Yeah, well, you had plenty of people cheering for you anyway. There was plenty of Brits cheering your name. So yeah, I get what you mean. Just back to the kind of the rankings. Kind of delve into the French rankings in a sec, but just going back to this idea of breaking into the kind of the top, I guess the top 5, top 7 of Europe. Is that an aim for yourself? Are you wanting to kind of push into there, or are you quite happy with kind of the 9th and 13th finishes?
I'll be honest. I've never really thought about goals in terms of numbers. For this year, what I wanted originally was to get as high as possible on the MIOM ranking, because I've gotten basically an honor mention on both last year's ranking and the one before that, 2015.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be the best improvement out of non-ranked players. So in terms of Europe, I didn't really mind it, but usually my goal is just to outdo myself, just play a little bit better than I.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because it's interesting to doing these podcasts now and seeing players' different mentalities, where Vanity Angel in the last one was very much kind of had the goals, the numbered goals, where your goal is kind of more personal. It's kind of doing better for yourself and how yourselves kind of performed previously. Where would you kind of put yourself at the moment in Europe, Mahie? Because it's an awkward...
In Europe?
Yeah, it's just an awkward question because Smash Europe kind of did a bit of a ranking, I think it was April 2016, and put you at 20th. And then we obviously we had SREU, kind of the ranking system, which is gone. And then the reboot system announced, I think it was in the last few days, that they're launching Smash. I think it's going to be called Smash Archive, rather, because it's not a ranking anymore. It's just going to be an archive.
It's not a ranking anymore.
Yeah, which is an interesting decision.
I think by the end of Smash ranking, that was ranked 12th-ish or something. 12 or 13.
Sounds about right. I remember you being around the top, like just outside the top 10.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say I'm around that range. It's a pretty wide tier of players. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I'm definitely like, it's difficult because I was thinking of players like Zigero or VA. I'm not sure exactly how we compare to each other, but there's an obvious tier 1 of players in Europe, and in terms of like the world scale, they're not the same tier, but in Europe they would be. It's Armada, Left and Ice. That's the obvious one, top 3. Then I think tier 2 is difficult, but I think tier 2 is Prof and Triff, and just them basically.
Just them two?
And just them two, I would say.
Would you say Over is not in there with them?
Nah, I don't think so. Not at the moment. I think he's really, really good, but I don't think he's in that tier, which doesn't mean he's far below. He's just below, but he is below, I would say. Slightly. Then the next tier is obviously Over, Android, and then I don't know. That's when things get complicated, because maybe Robbie deserves to be somewhere around that tier. Maybe he's just below. I think he's just below. And then Adam, Zigero, all these guys, they're somewhere around there as well. I'm somewhere around there. Baxon is here as well. That's where like it kind of like spreads out and there's more people included. So I'm somewhere around tier 4 in Europe.
Yeah, this is where it becomes, I think the geography of Europe becomes increasingly awkward in terms of the rankings as well, because it's hard. You know, I know Beast is gone now, but you got Beast, you had Eclipse in Norway, you've got Heir obviously in the UK, HFLAN in France, Syndicate in the Netherlands. It's not as easy for our top players to get to all these events compared to the US, where the US, you know, you can drive, you can obviously fly it, but it's kind of one landmass where... It's
still the same country, you know, it's still the same culture, the same language.
Passport issues, no language. Yeah, the language barriers aren't there. And
like definitely when you're like 16 and you're thinking about traveling, going from France to Sweden sounds a lot more like it sounds a lot more than going from LA to
even now, to
whatever.
Like I do a lot of work and promo for Heir, which is kind of just breaking down the mental barrier of traveling. It's kind of like, you know, if it was, you know, get in the car, drive, you know, in the end of the day, you can drive to Paris, from Paris to Nottingham for Heir in six hours. It's what it is, 6 hours, including the Eurotunnel. Now, if that wasn't going from one country to another and across the English Channel, it would not appear to be as bad. It's
right.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the issue of getting all our top players to all these top events in Europe, these what I call the EU majors now. Is just that I think it's the mental barrier to I'm actually literally going from one country to another.
Yeah, it's difficult to change that mentality. I feel like top players nowadays, they've kind of become this European community. You know, in a sense, I feel like I'm more of a European player than a French player.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of top players have the same feeling. But for people that are not used to traveling, or you know, middle ranked players that are not used to moving around, and the first step is always the most complicated, you know. And I don't know how you do it, what you tell people usually, but I can imagine it's not easy. It's not simple.
It's not. You just got to promote an event in so many different ways. That one of those ways is a way that they can connect with the event enough to make that first jump, I guess. But yeah, back to what you're saying. I think there is, that second tier down to the fourth tier of Europe is hard to actually rank because there just isn't as many large events in Europe, and the top players don't get to them all. And now that we've lost Beast as well, that's going to be like a major blow in that sense.
Yeah, hopefully he gets replaced with something else in Sweden. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, Mahie. I just don't imagine that whatever replaces it, it'll be a bit like the Apex effect where it won't quite be as big.
It won't blow up as much, I think.
Yeah, that's it. So we'll see. Hopefully another EU major kind of steps in there. We'll see. Talking about rankings, actually, and you mentioned Baxon before. I just want to talk a little bit about the French scene. I'm trying to, with these podcasts, what I'm trying to do is kind of put the emphasis and the focus on community members, leaders, TOs, streamers, players, commentators, and just the scenes themselves to try to get out there more about the European scene, because I think that's probably one of the major problems between our scene in Europe and North America is just the lack of actual content made. So just delving into the French scene a little bit, French rankings came out not too long ago and you were placed second on them. We got Tekken first, yourself in second. Now, dude, I've never known how, and this is maybe kind of embarrassing a little bit, I've never known how to say Sire's name. Is it Sire? Seer?
It's Seer.
Seer, yeah.
Seer.
Yeah, Seer. So Seer in third, Baxon's fourth. And who's fifth again? Jagoff? I think that's right.
I think so. That would be the most logical.
Yeah.
At the time of the ranking, would be the most logical.
Ooh, that's interesting. Why?
I don't think it's true.
Yeah, go on then. I was going to ask you what you thought on
the
that,
ranking.
I know that the French community's always have been a bit interesting with the top end in terms of it's always been highly debated, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like compared to other countries, like, the UK, for instance, it's always been crystal clear who the top players were for like 10 years. Like it used to be Fuzzy, and then it used to be, Fuzzy, Prof, and VA, top three, and then a huge gap. In France, it's a bit more smoothed out, like it's way closer. And for this ranking in particular, the problem was that Shalom was living in San Francisco for a while.
Yeah, he was Cali-based.
So he did not...
Yeah.
He was what? Sorry?
He was Cali-based. He was California-based, wasn't he, for a while?
Yeah, he was rooming with Shroom and NMW at the moment. And... So he didn't meet the requirements in terms of tournaments attended and stuff like that in France to get ranked. And same goes for Mackenzie, who did not. He was kind of like on a hiatus kind of thing as well with Smash, because he used to be ranked number one back when I started, like 2007 to maybe 2011 ish. He was first.
Yeah. So
these two players were missing, and of course Tech was first, but now he doesn't really play anymore. So that also changes things a little bit. So the rankings nowadays in France are very complicated to get right, I would say. It's not simple.
Where would you put things then at the moment, top five?
At the moment, top five, I would say tier one is me, Seer, and Baxon, in no particular order. It depends on the day sometimes. Like... in terms of ourselves, like our personal matchups, Seer destroys us both, like easily. Like Seer maybe has a record of 30-2 against me or something. Wow. He destroys Baxon as well. And usually I destroy Baxon.
Seer is such an odd one though, isn't he? Because he doesn't travel very much. There's probably
it's
people
so hard
listening
to get him
this.
to move.
Yeah, we got him to Heir 3 last year, which I
don't know how you did.
I know, man.
I have no idea how you did it.
I think it was one of my biggest achievements in Smash.
I actually mean that. I'm serious. I think it really is.
I think ranking in my top 5, definitely, that I actually got him to come to. I'm hoping for Heir 4. I've not spoken to him yet, but the fact
fingers crossed, man.
Fingers crossed. I know what he's like.
You never know. We have a meme in France, like we call it Seer is missing, and every tournament we always say, Seer is missing, as expected. Like it's hard to get him to move around, but he's really, really good, and I think he's underrated for sure.
Yeah,
in terms
definitely.
of like the European scale.
Which is you saying that you're 30-2. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, I'm here. You here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, dude. I don't know why I cut for a bit. It's okay. We're fine. But yeah, for for Sia to be ranked third in France, and we just don't see him at European scale tournaments, is kind of, and you having like such a poor record versus him and backs on as well. It's a shame that we don't see him more often.
I know. It's a shame because I'm a fan of Sia as well. Like, he's really, really good.
He's a Samus as well.
He's a Samus, and he's obviously the best Samus in Europe. I think no questions asked. Even though Dady from Sweden is on the rise, and we have Foster as well in France. I think that would be the top 3 of Samuses in Europe. Maybe Kid12 as well. But I think Sia is still the obvious number 1 at the moment. And a bit of a shame that he doesn't like traveling. He likes the comforts of his own home. I can respect it, but
yeah, it's fair enough. So you'd have you 3 as kind of like the top tier at the moment.
Yeah, and then I would say tier 2, probably, or tier 1.5, like really close to top 3 would be Mackenzie, because Mackenzie was always really good. But the thing with Mackenzie is that he didn't used to play Smash. He used to play rock paper scissors. But he didn't have the right tools or the right modern stuff or the right ideas sometimes. But he's really, really good as old school players at reading people.
Yeah, what do you mean by rock, paper, scissors?
I feel like instead of trying to, optimize his game and trying to cover multiple options and, trying to take away, most people nowadays what they do is they try to make the game more mechanical. Not necessarily in terms of tech skill, but in terms of your combo game is more automatic and your edge guarding is, laid out and flow charted and stuff like that. And that takes away from the mental toll of actually executing stuff because it's just a habit and you can just grind it into yourself until it becomes second nature. Mackenzie is a bit similar to Muta King in a way where the neutral game, they will break it down to very simple options. And they will be happy with taking 50-50s. They won't try to cover everything. They won't try to play perfect. They will force you to guess with something like, oh, am I going to dash grab or dash forward smash as Marth? And you have to guess. And both options are kind of dumb, but I'm going to make it work anyway. And I'm going to force you to play my game in terms of like, oh, you're going to read me and then you think I'm going to do paper twice in a row, but I'm actually going to do scissors the next time. Mm-hmm. And then I will condition you and then I will win. And that's how they play. That's how he plays the game. But we got to room, like I said. And at first, I got frustrated at Mackenzie a lot of times because he would play that way. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm not supposed to lose to this bullshit. But he's just really, really, really good. And now he's just like upgraded himself. He got a bit more serious. He learned a new school Marth. He watched a lot of PPMD. And I feel like now he's a top contender for the French throne. He got first French results at HFLAN. He got 9th. So same, we got tied for best French result at HFLAN. And I would not be surprised if he got even better results going forward. So I'm looking forward to that. So Mackenzie kind of a tier of his own ish. And then there's Charlon, I would say at 5th. And Charlon is a bit of the French West Bulls in the sense that he can beat anyone, but he can also lose to anyone. I've seen him go, like he was Kickstarter 11 or something. I've seen him go 2-3 against VA, 2-3 against AMSA. I've seen him destroy Ice a couple of times in friendlies. I've seen him demolish Fuzziness, DreamHack. Demolish him, not close, like 4-stocked and stuff. But sometimes I've also seen him lose to random people or people ranked below him. And I've seen him like rage quit. So I think it's also a bit of a mental thing with him. And he likes to play too fancy for his own good. He does stuff like random pivots and really, really, really crazy complicated stuff that will be in Melee in 2021 or something. But it's too advanced for himself, so he messes up. But definitely a really good player that could beat anyone. Like if you put Shannon against I don't know, any top 20 player in the world and he won, I would not be surprised. Like if you told me Shannon beat Wizrobe, I would not be surprised, for instance. That would be, oh, okay. It's a good win, but I'm not shocked. No. So that would be top 5. And after that come Alox, Belia, Belia, Jagoff. That would be tier 4, 3 or something. that's the top in France at the moment, top 8-ish.
Yeah, which is interesting, especially I think the Mackenzie one and Charlon obviously, changes things from the last ranking. And,
yeah, definitely.
And taking Tech out, I know that Tech's made some noise about coming to Heir in the summer, which is interesting.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Which is awesome, yeah. I'd love to get him. Well, I just want to see him back involved. It is a miss not having his jigs in top.
And even like socially, right? He's someone you want to have because he's most of the time in a good mood. He's the one that will, I don't know, joke about stuff. Or I remember Heir 3 when him and Alok started rapping an entire song in the courtyard, and that was crazy with everyone else yelling in between the verses. That was a lot of fun. So having him back would be great. Yeah.
I'm hoping, it's like my in my head, my kind of fingers crossed, is that we get a cheeky kind of contract entry from him.
And you get him to play.
Yeah. That would
be crazy.
Yeah,
I would love it.
Yeah, same. Other than that, then, so that's the top end. Are there any, just so we can expand on the scene a little bit in France, are there any up and coming players that, non-French smashers may not be aware of, or any hidden bosses kind of lurking around the scene that maybe people are less aware of and maybe should know their names?
Well, I feel one player in particular, even in France, he's kind of, under the radar, I would say. His name is Seb, and he's the player I mentioned earlier, the one I went to SNY with. So the third player from Lille, me, Sam, and Seb, basically. And he's really good. He was the first player in France to implement shield dropping properly, and that was like 2012. He's really, really good. Like the last time I saw him was December. He came to a tournament in Lille, like out of nowhere. He was like, "Oh, dude," because he moved away from Lille now, so we don't get to meet often. But he's really, really good. He came back to Lille. He destroyed me in winners. I managed to win in losers, but definitely a super good player, super scary player. Like, I think most players in Europe, if they sit down and have to play him, they should be scared. Like, except if they're like top level. But once again, if you told me Seb beats Adam or Zighetto, I would not be too surprised, to be honest.
Is that SEB, Seb?
SEB, like Sebastian, but he just uses Seb as a nickname, and that's also his tag in Smash. I think back at Heir, back at SNY, his tag was X17. If that rings a bell, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
But that was like, it does. Yeah, then he switched to Seb, more simple tag, just his real name, basically.
Yeah, so there's one, just, there's always a few. I know kind of, 6 in Germany, the Link player. A few that you don't get to see outside the country very often, but when they do, they do particularly well.
Okay, I forgot a few actually. So in terms of France, because when you talked about 6, I remembered. There's either the French Link, who's also very, very good. There's old school players that are kind of coming back for some reason. I'm not sure why. So Infernum,
all right,
the old school player. Poilon, Charlon's brother. He used to be French #1 at some point as well. He came back to HF LAN. He beat Charlon, actually.
Wow.
I'm not sure why he did in the bracket.
I didn't realize they were brothers.
They're brothers.
Yeah, I didn't
know
the
brothers. Poilon and Charlon.
Yeah.
The brothers. But he doesn't have much time because now he has 2 kids and a job, so it's complicated for him to. But I think you know about that, right?
Yeah.
Kids. It takes your time.
Change your life, changes everything in a great way, in a good way. You just got to find you just got to adapt to it, and you put them first, and then find time for other things. In that sense, but that's cool. So what's that? Poilon and Infernum.
Either, and then 2 players I almost forgot that I got to play with a lot when I was in Paris. One of them is Willy. I'm pretty sure you remember Willy because he was also at SNY.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
really, really good guy. Like his knowledge and his outlook about the game is really good. He's also one of the guys that would like meditate and think about the game deep. Mm-hmm. But sometimes he also overthinks stuff, so it's complicated for him to sometimes get past the thresholds. When you play, usually you level up and then you get stuck for a while. And then you level up, and then you get stuck for a while. That's how improving goes. And he got a little bit stuck at the moment, but I think he has potential for sure. but I don't know if he's motivated enough to size it. And the last one that everyone knows, but no one knows how good it is, it's Foster. Foster is amazing at the game. People don't know. People think he's just someone that can yell on the mic, but his Samus is awesome. Like, I've started playing Samus as a secondary after watching Foster's. I took a few notes, and he's really good. And also one of the players, like, every tournament, he will lose to, like, a top-tier Sheik, like Amsa or Over or something. Like, he will lose 2-3, and then people don't see it. They feel like, oh, he lost, he got 25th. Yeah, sure, he got 25th, but he's really good. And so that would be one of the most underrated players in Europe, solely based on the fact that people see him more as a commentator than a player. But if he doesn't have mic duties, then you can definitely tell he's really good at the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he performed. Yeah, he got 17th at Heir 3. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah,
so I'm not too surprised about that.
Yeah, it's an awesome result. And I think, especially from my TOing end of it, I know he's very capable and very good. And, you know, maybe a little bit slept on elsewhere in Europe, potentially. But yeah, it's awesome. Other than that, just a couple more things here, Mahie. We obviously spoke about choking earlier, which is something that had came up recently-ish on your Twitter. But there's two other things that had been kind of chatted about by yourself and the community in general that I wanted just to wade into towards the latter end of the pod, which is, the first one is the timer. So there's been a lot of recent discussion in the community about shaving the timer from 7 to 6 minutes. And this was increasingly prevalent after Hungry Pox's planking / stalling to beat Chu at DreamHack Austin. Now,
yeah, great set.
Yeah.
Awesome set.
Is that, are you being sarky, or are you being, was that sarcasm?
I'm being 100% sarcastic. Yeah. No, I'm not serious at all.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't think you were.
Melee.
No.
I mean, it's interesting when it happens once in a while, but it's not like, I will never go back and watch it. You know what I mean? It's interesting, but it doesn't fire me up the way some other sets do. It's just not that fun to watch.
What was bizarre, it was actually an interesting set until that game. So the final game on Stadium, where he did stall a plank on Stadium, that was obviously horrible to watch. But before that, the set was building. But yeah,
there's something I would like to clarify, because I think I'm the only person with this opinion. I'm not sure.
Go on.
But to me, stalling and camping are not the same thing. And I think Hungrybox never stalled. I think Chu stalled. The difference.
Yeah.
The difference is that camping is a legitimate decision based on risk and reward. So what you think about is like, I'm going to win if I don't approach, which usually assumes that you have the lead and it makes sense for you to play the long range because the other player cannot reach you and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But when you're losing and you don't interact with the opponent, that's when we have a problem. That's what stalling is, basically. It's the non-interaction. And camping is something different.
Okay.
So when Shu doesn't want to go in and take any risks because he thinks the best move is not to play.
Okay, so he's in that situation, he's the staller and
he's the staller.
Yeah.
But basically, if you took a computer, like an AI, they would never do that because they know it doesn't make any sense. And it turned out to be right, because in the end, he never had, like, even if he got the rubble on Hungrybox, he would never have had enough time to win because not enough time on the clock. So when you stall, all you do for yourself is that you're limiting your options later down the road.
Yeah, I saw Leffen
say.
Yeah, Leffen said this as well. Is that what he should have done was just gone in.
Yeah, basically, that's what the timer is for. The timer is meant for people to it forces player to take bad decisions. That's what the timer is for. You look at the decision and you're like, oh, this is plus EV, like they would say in poker, meaning like if you do this decision, this gamble 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, you will come out positive. You will make money out of it. And some decisions are minus EV, minus value. You lose money on them, and these decisions are bad, but you're forced to make them. And it's the same in poker. Like in poker, when you play in a tournament, the stakes they raise over time. So if you don't play and you choose never to play, you will lose on your own. Eventually, you will be forced into something very stupid, like all-inning with a shitty hand because you didn't play beforehand when you had more room to do so. And melee is the same because basically, if the winning player, like Hungrybox in this case, decides not to do anything, then the losing player just, nothing happens for 2 minutes, and then he's forced to do something, and then his options are very, very limited. And it's the same, like I said, in every game. Like in football, if it was like 2-0 for one team against the other and 10 minutes left on the clock, you would expect them to go in, because if they don't, they will never manage to win anyway. So it's do or die, you know, like you might as well. And in that sense, I feel like 8 minutes is too much for Melee, because this stalling is too easy sometimes, you know, like the timer does not force you to do anything for a while. So it's a waste of time, because the spectators and the players, they have to wait. Like sometimes, you know, I camp in my games because I'm like, oh, you know, I have the lead. I'm 2 stocks ahead of you and I have lasers. So you're the one who should come to me. And I'm not camping in the sense that I don't want to approach you ever. I'm camping in the sense that this is an invitation. You should realize that you have to come to me, because it's what makes sense. So either we can stay here and look at each other for 2 minutes, or you can just come now. So these 2 minutes, we can just shave them off the timer and solve the problem.
So
and that would be a lot more.
So you're an advocate of taking it from 8 minutes to?
I'm an advocate of testing things out. So maybe 7 is right, because I don't think many matchups go over 7 minutes, even like the puff mirrors or something. So 7 might be a good start, and then we can see from there what happens. I don't think timing out people is a bad thing, because usually what people say is that, oh, if the timer is lower, it will be easier to time out people.
Yeah.
Because then you can start camping earlier. That's
Which is
true.
my worry, yeah.
But the other side of the coin is that the opponent, the losing one, will have to break the stalemate earlier as well. He has to be aggressive. Because like I said, camping is normal. Camping is, when you're camping, you can only blame the game. When someone does something good, you can only blame the game. But when you're stalling, that's where you can blame the player. Because what they're doing is just psychological pressure. But if the other one doesn't fall for it in terms of gameplay, like if you were playing with a robot, that would be useless. It would never work. Like the robot would look at you and be like, sure, don't approach. I don't care. Which is why, you know, when people talk about 20xx, they say, oh, if we have 2 perfect bots, they will just never approach each other because nothing happens. So that's what happens if you're against a computer and you don't approach and he has the lead, they will just look at you and like, oh, if you don't come, you lose in 4 minutes, man. It's okay. I don't care. I'm a computer. I can wait. So when players do it, when they stall, we should blame the players. And
so
we
in
should
terms
simply...
of the DreamHack Austin Grands, was that actual game kind of how bad it turned out? Was that Chew's fault then?
It is 100%, yeah. Because Hungrybox was doing what's right. Like not interacting with the ice climbers is the best way to beat them. You know, like if you're a spacey, you will go to the top platform and you will start camping your ass out, and that's fine because you're going to win in 8 minutes. And if the ice climbers doesn't do anything to prevent you from winning, then it's their fault. And it was blatantly obvious when he never had enough time at the end to even come back. So he had no choice but to do something about it. Yeah.
Okay, so if we we're thinking that if we shave the timer, I don't know why I said 7 to 6 earlier. That is daft. We shaved it from 8 to 7. You feel like that potential stall would just go?
Yeah, it would be more interesting for everyone because, like I said, when I camp, it's meant to be an invitation. It's meant to be, oh, I'm in this situation. The situation is amazing for me. I have no reason to stop being in the situation. You're the one that has to interact with me and create a different opportunity for yourself. And if the timer forces you to do so, then it's going to happen. So I think it would be more interesting for the viewers and for the players as well, because that's also one of the things that tired me out with Marth. Like when I'm against a Samus and I'm 3 stocks ahead and I'm dash dance camping them and they don't want to approach, and I'm like, okay, well we can do this for 3 minutes and then you're going to approach me anyway. So maybe you could just do it now. Don't waste my time.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I feel like it's a waste of time. And coming from Smash 64, it used to be a major problem because on Hyrule in 64, there are a bunch of situations that you can never break, basically. Like if you're Ness against Pikachu and Pikachu is camping you on the top platforms, you will never reach Pikachu. There's nothing you can do. And there's no timer in 64. So basically what happens is Ness does nothing, Pikachu does nothing, and nothing happens. If Kirby is on the left side of Hyrule and is crouching and is waiting for you to come in and it will up tilt you, there's nothing you can do. The best move is not to play the game. So that's a problem. That's a problem with the game design, of course. But the way we solve this kind of problems is to force people into bad interaction. And that's what the timer is for. So if the timer doesn't do that, then might as well not have a timer because it's the same result. If the timer is there from like a TO perspective, then whatever, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, it depends on the TO, right? And like the arbitrary amount of time a set is supposed to take. But if the timer is meant to be there from a gameplay perspective, and it's meant to be there from breaking stalemates, then it has to be reduced, I think.
Yeah, dude, that's really interesting. Like, just hearing your opinion on that is giving me food for thought, and I would imagine is giving listeners food for thought, which makes me want to ask, not on move on conversation wise, but ask another quite controversial issue that's being discussed in the community, which is not so much at the moment. It kind of goes up and down, this one, which is about the switch in Europe to NTSC. So just to clarify, this conversation normally happens post large US tournaments. So it's basically just after Genesis, after Big House, after Evo, the normal 3. And it's largely because a lot of Europeans get across to the likes of Genesis and Big House. And then then they complain. Yeah, exactly. It spikes, basically. The conversation spikes after, and you get a lot of advocates, a lot of, good European players have got across to those events, like yourself, saying that Europe should make the switch from PAL to NTSC. And just like the timer, it'd be quite interesting to hear your opinions on that.
Well, basically, I feel like there are a lot of problems with this topic. Problems as in issues that we can discuss, but playing PAL only hurts the top players in Europe. Because when we go to the US, even if you practice with the NTSC version, your instincts and your habits and the way you do things, they will always be based on what you've played the most. So let me put this another way. You drive a car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you drive a manual car, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had an automatic car and you were driving it, you would understand how to drive the car, right? You've driven a car before, you know how to do it. It's not complicated. You just press the button and the car moves.
I've driven an automatic car. I bought one for £300 once.
You what?
I had an automatic car once. It cost me £300 my year. It was not particularly good. Anyway, go on.
That sucks. I was just gonna say, like, if you end up like on the highway in the US and you have to press the brakes, chances are your hand is gonna try to gear down, right? Because you're so used to it. So like when you're in flight, your body goes to what you know. So for instance, when I was at Genesis 3, I had Kolbo off stage and I wanted to gimp him. And that was basically almost a comeback because I was 1 stock and he had 3 or something. And I was like the second stock, like 1 more after that. And I go to side B him as Marth. And then I get burned by the up B. And then I remember I died to it. I died because of it. And then I remember, oh yeah, NTSC up B has bigger flames. Oh shit, I'm not used to it. When you're in that kind of like tense situation, it's very difficult to think, oh yeah, I should remember that this is going to happen to me. It's complicated. So for players that can travel often, left in an Armada, I don't know if it's that big of an issue. But for other players, it's just hurting ourselves. And the big problem is that maybe PAL is the better version. But we have to admit and realize that America is 90% of the community, maybe 80%, 85%, I don't know. Yeah, but it's the major part of the community is from the US. So is it I think it's selfish to assume that people will switch to PAL. So maybe like if everyone switches to PAL, fine. I don't even care which version we switch to. I would just like it to be unified because in the end we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. So there's the practical problems of getting NTSC versions for Europe and playing on them. But the more time passes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the major issue, isn't it? It's
right.
There's 2% problems that I perceive. One problem and one kind of querying the need to. The first one is just from a TOing point of view. You know, as the head TO of the largest Melee tournament series in Europe, plug, go to Heir, smash GG/Air4. But in terms of Heir, we struggled last year, Mahie, to get enough setups for Heir. So I'd personally collected 100 TVs, 100 CRTs. I literally have 100 CRTs in a storage container, right? And I'm in the process of picking up another 50 next week. So what you see at Heir is pretty much us, is my collection. But we were like so close to not being able to actually get setups on all those TVs last year. And that, you know, I stood at the registration desk as players, you know, registered, they picked up their lanyards. We give players like a sticker. It was like it said you're a setup hero sticker, you know, for bringing their setup. And we handed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is, you know, I wanted to say thank you. I appreciate and understand that it's a pain to bring your setup when you're bringing so much other stuff, because Heir is like a 4-night event. It's like a holiday, really. You're going on holiday with the amount of stuff you need to bring. So I get lobbing in your Wii or lobbing in your cube when you're traveling from abroad isn't maybe wasted space in that sense. So, you know, we were trying to just basically small little token, little gesture of thanks. So I was there, and we had a list basically of all our setups, our CRTs, and we were ticking them off as players came past. They got the sticker. We were just checking that we're going to have enough setups, enough Wiis, enough cubes for our CRTs, and it really, as I say, went down to the wire in terms of us covering them all. And there was 535 people at Heir, and we probably only needed to run the tournament. I think it was off the top of my head, something about, I think it was 86, and then the rest of them were for friendlies. So I think in our head we wanted about 120. So let's say we got 120 out of 535, and then imagine if we changed to NTSC.
I mean, out of these, how many do you get at the end of the day? 100?
We probably got about 120-ish.
Okay. I was going to ask, out of these 120, how many were physical discs and how many were ROMs and ESOs?
I would say that we're still leaning towards physical discs more than actual ROMs. There are.
Would you say it's a big majority, or is it like closer to 50-ish% or 60?
It's hard. I would probably say, you see, PM really kind of changes the perception of it, because obviously most of the PM, PM is not disc. So in my head I can visualize turning on all the PM setups every morning, and the absolute pain that is, by the way.
I can imagine, if you have to do it on your own.
Yeah, and there's so many, all the menus, and there's different versions as well. That's the other issue with this. There's so many variants. I would probably say it's probably 70-30, Mahie, if I'm honest, towards physical disc.
Because I was going to say, like, I feel like over time we will be heading towards a more less physical, you know, Melee community. There will be less Melee discs and more, you know, hacked Wiis and stuff like that. So if that is the case, then we can afford to switch to NTSC. But I 100% agree that it's probably not realistic at the moment to expect people to make the full switch for a 600 people tournament. It's just not realistic. Maybe a side event at Heir would be an option, but yeah, it's not doable at the moment.
That's my main problem I see with it. Which gives me an interesting question, actually, Mahie. Do you mind what you play on in terms of does it, you know, you come to Heir or you come to a big tournament, does it matter if it's a load of, I guess, modded Wiis or it's physical discs, or are you just happy as long as it's the correct version?
Actually, yes, I do mind for one specific reason. Sometimes people, they will have modded Wiis, and the launcher they use, they will forget an option that's called native triggers or native controls. And please, like PSA, please listen to this. If you own one of these Wiis and you bring them to a tournament, make sure to turn the option on, please, because then your controls get fucked on your controller. Shield dropping becomes weird. You cannot trigger trick anymore. I remember, like with AMSA at Kickstart 11, we had to go to 3 different setups before we could sit down and play. So if that's the case, I will never ever play on a setup that doesn't have native controls.
Okay, so just
thank you.
Let's repeat that again, just for people listening. What do they need to do specifically?
For instance, like specifically on, I use Newton Domes myself, so I know for that one in particular. When you're in Newton Domes and you want to start the game, what you do is you press B to get into the options, and there's an option called native controls or native triggers. It depends. That must be turned on no matter what. There's no negotiating this. It changes everything. Sometimes I will sit on a setup and I will try to shield drop. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
I will try to trigger trick, which is for people who don't know. I will disable the light shielding on my left trigger because it helps me in power shielding. So I do that. And if native trigger is not on, that doesn't work. So I can try to disable it and the light shield will still pop up. And that is not happening. I will not play in these conditions. So I don't mind modded. I don't mind thingies. I don't mind lagless TVs. I don't mind CRTs, but that I will always mind.
Okay, so again, is another issue of us moving from PAL to potentially NTSC would be again having to kind of verify and check that all the all the modded ones are appropriate in that sense. And obviously,
and I remember like there was an issue with some I don't remember if it was in Europe or in the US or something, but some guy was running a modded version of the game. And it was almost invisible, but he made Pichu a lot stronger. And then he would
this was a German tournament.
It was Germany.
Yeah,
then.
It was Germany. Okay. Yeah,
and that's ridiculous when you think about it, because a top player will never get like. If I play against a Pichu that's buffed, that's on on cocaine, I will notice right away. I'm like, oh, this is not what the game is supposed to do, dude. Yeah. We're not playing this. But I can imagine so many players getting robbed because they don't notice. They don't notice like Marv's Fair is doing 2% more damage out of nowhere. They won't notice that, I don't know, Fox's Shine, or like maybe Fox's Jump Squat is 1 frame faster out of nowhere or something. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. But I don't know. It's the same as modded controllers. Like, how can you actually verify?
Yeah,
I feel like trust is better than actually checking people. Because I don't know how you can, once again, like realistically, physically, like check everything.
Yeah, especially at something like where our time stretched so thin already. Like trying to do an actual check on them all would be a nightmare unless we owned them all. But then I guess the US has stuff like gaming generations where they hire the equipment from CRTs and setups, and
so they know the origin of all the equipment. Basically, that helps.
Yeah, but dude, as well, like they get so much money for that. Like seriously, like
I can imagine. It's also more I wouldn't say rewarding, but there's a sentiment of communal realization. Do you know what I mean? Like if the entire Europe comes and bring their stuff, and then it's like a group effort in a way. I'm not trying to take it away from you, like your achievement, but when everyone tries to help and brings their stuff, it's also like part of what Melee is.
Oh well, I have never not Mahie since 2003 not took my setup to an event. Never not.
That's good. I think you're very very how do you call it shit. I can't find a word. Not cocky, the opposite. Humble, and that's good because people they don't acclaim TOs enough because you've put in the work since like. It's been 10 years, dude. Maybe more even. I remember watching the what was it called? When you guys go to Sweden, you and Jam.
Yeah.
And Alex,
Joe. We're not talking about that.
Oh, the Dark Secrets.
Yeah, Dark Series. A lot of people won't know about that. I've shuffled that under the carpet. It's under the rug, right?
But I remember about it, Ed. I remember it. And I don't know. I feel like you guys deserve more props. So when I was talking about, a community effort, I still want to say like you guys are really fucking awesome. Like without you guys, there would be no Melee in Europe anyway. So thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, of course, man. Well, it's not us. It's everyone that turns up, which is why for Heir we use the Team Heir loves players, and we have our entire campaign isn't about. I hate it. It's just. These tournament series, all they do is these posters of this top player is coming. And it's like, but what about every other player? Like, all you're doing is showing me the top percent and it's like, what about the 99%, the person who signed up first for the event, who's not known, from the middle of nowhere, and it might be their third event ever, you know? So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, with Heir,
I feel like that's a more American approach to it. Like in Europe, everyone is much closer and much friendlier. But my experience of the American community was much more star centric. You know,
that's what
like at some point, I remember specifically at Genesis, I was talking to Armada, and then some guy, the top 64 was over, and I went to him and was like, do you want to get food or something? Because I'm kind of hungry. I was like, yeah, let's go, man. And we walk out, and then this one guy comes like, oh, Armada, can I shake your hand? Can we take a picture? And Armada's like, yeah, sure. And then another one comes, and another one comes, and then there's this queue of 15, 20 minutes of people waiting for Armada to take a picture with them. And I remember specifically me talking to him casually, and people looking at me because they didn't know who I was. And it doesn't even matter who I am anyway. I was just talking to him, normally, and they would look at me like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, this is Armada, man. You should be respected. I was like, what? See, they never said anything, but they look.
You can see it in their eyes, their body language.
Yeah, you can see it, and that's very weird. And we don't have that in Europe. And
it's actually something that Adam and kind of the compendium players we've got across from the US have said to like Team Heir, is their ability just to enjoy the event at Heir, that they're not harassed. Adam had a few drinks, maybe, quite a few on the Thursday night at Heir last year. We had Chu and Non, he was having a drink, but I meant Chu and Moon and Leffen doing karaoke, and obviously with many other people being involved in a range of activities like that as well. But they were able to do that without feeling, I guess, harassed or, people going a bit overboard. Yeah,
but it's overboard from our perspective because we're more laid back, and this whole it's a very American thing to do, to see things in terms of like, oh, this top 1% person is my dream person, and I want to be like them. And here it's more like, oh, what's up, man? How you doing? Do you want to go for a drink? Do you want to play a few friendlies maybe or something? So it's something I know that top players, like the ones who travel, like Leffen and Armada, they enjoy European tournaments a lot more for that specific reason. Maybe the competition is not the same, but it's much more. It's a much more friendly environment to be in.
If I was honest, Mahie, if we were like that, I wouldn't TO. I've actually said this to the Team Heir lads, that I'm in it because I guess I went to say this, and I'm going to say it. I fell in love with the community, at the beginning, and I liked what the Smash community was. And if we ever got to that point, I just don't think I would TO anymore, because, and that's why we drive our promo with Heir all about community. And we're using this tag.
About love.
Yeah, about love. And we're using this tag this year. It's like, we've got more than a tournament. Team Heir loves. And then this other one we introduced this year was unashamedly grassroots. And it's true. Heir is grassroots. We don't have any proper financial support. It's done our logistics, the planning, the equipment. It's all us. It's basically, a group of 6 of us, and then others that help us out during the event itself, and it's because I'm happy to say unashamedly that it is grassroots, and I want that community spirit to be there, and I want top players down to new players, down to players who've been about for years, just to come and enjoy the event and be able to enjoy it without maybe that and that's my opinion anyway on it.
I mean, I agree with you, but I was also thinking that maybe some of the newer TOs, they don't know any better, and American tournaments, ils vendent du rêve, like we would say in French.
Emulate.
Meaning, which means they sell dreams basically,
okay.
And people they watch American tournaments, they want to emulate their success. Emulate is a good word, and so they don't know any better, so they replicate also the marketing campaign that they use. So I feel like maybe if you guys could teach other TOs to embrace their lack of resources, like you were saying, and then build from there, from the people, from the bottom up, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, which is how we do it.
Yeah, that maybe it would be more spread out in Europe.
Yeah, well, I've always said, and my door is always open for anyone who's listening who wants to get into TOing. You know, all you got to do is send us a message, and I'm always available to chat. And I do have TOs in the UK that do that. So, and plus, I love talking about TOing. So, any time for anyone listening. I guess we've actually gone on for nearly an hour and a half. Mahie, just shows.
I think so.
Yeah, it just shows how quick time goes when you. Yeah, I'm just saying it just shows how quick time goes when you're comfortable chatting with someone you know. So, just to wrap up, what events can our listeners expect to see you at this year?
I'm pretty sure the next one will be Mission Complete, which is in 10 days or something, in 2 weeks. In the Netherlands, yes. Should be very cool. Should have a lot of players, including Armada, Android, all the Dutchies, the French. I think Baxon is coming as well, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to get Shalon and Mackenzie to come. After that, there will be Heir. Obviously, I'm not missing Heir. Maybe DreamHack Summer, but I'm not sure. I don't feel like going to I'll be honest. I don't feel like going to DreamHack Summer. But it's a $10,000 like prize pool.
Well, that's the weird thing about DreamHack, isn't it, Mahie? It's players do that. That's what they say to me. They don't really want to go. Their experience isn't particularly good, but it's got a lot of money to win. That's it.
So like, it sounds interesting, and it's one of two things. Like, either the competition will be really interesting because of the money, or either the money will be easy to get. So in either way, it's a good tournament from a top player perspective, you know.
Of course, yeah.
But that's I'll think about it. Not too sure. Heir is obvious, guaranteed. Then Syndicate, also guaranteed, more or less, because it's close to my place. It's like a 2-hour drive, or 3-hour drive.
EU major, not far away.
And that's about it, really. Yeah. I would love to try and attend Genesis or a Big House, but we'll see. Depends on the funds. Yeah, exactly. Depends if I win the contract this year against Mint. We'll see. We'll see about that.
I tell you something that you do need to actually win, Mahie. I'm gonna throw this in at the end. How about you actually beat England in crews at Heir? I was looking at it. France has lost to England. Heir 3, Heir 2, and
oh shit, you went there.
I went there, and you lost to us at SNY. So I see SNY as like the kind of spiritual predecessor to Heir. So
SNY does not count. Like, that's SNY, everyone was fighting each other. Mackenzie was talking shit to Ashura, the Ice Climbers players. They were, I want to play. I don't want to play. I don't want you to play, but I don't want you to play either. So it was a bad team. I played Puff back at that time. I played Puff against Fuzziness, and I beat him. And then Prof came in, and he never spoke to me, never shook my hand. He joined me, and then he left. I was like, oh, dude, what? I did not like Prof at the time. Aaron, you were a dick to me in 2010, but now we're good. We're cool.
Yeah, but so Aaron was a huge troll back then, like a massive.
Was he?
Yeah, that's what his entire Smashboards online persona was a troll and being a dick to people.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, that's what he did.
I was not aware of him being that way. So when is France gonna beat England?
Yeah. You finished 7th at Heir 3. 7th. That's terrible for France.
In
crews, you finished 7th.
What happened?
You lost to us in winners.
I don't remember.
Oh, I think.
And then
you lost to Sweden, else. And I think you lost to Sweden because Austria beat them in winners.
Yeah, but what the fuck, man? Like, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. They lose to Austria. No offense to Austria. Amazing upset. You guys were really good. Good results. I remember Arist demolishing Don as well. Really nice. But we lost to fucking Sweden. So, okay, we got 7th. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's a bit.
But when Armada sat down and he took Tech and then Baxon and then me in a row. And okay, whatever, man. Do your thing. We can compete.
You need to compete a little bit better with England then.
England is doable. But you guys, you have the crowd support.
I know.
And you have fucking ice climbers.
But you guys looked
and stuff
amazing
like
last year, and your berets and your shirts and your wine and your singing.
That was
Yeah,
awesome.
you got
That was
into it.
awesome.
I've actually heard.
I don't know if we have something planned for this year, but hopefully the other countries do.
Well, interestingly, I've had two other countries ask me if they can do specific stuff like what you guys were doing. Because I know that Pierre asked about whether you guys were all right doing what you did for France. I don't know why he asked for approval, but he did. He's a nice guy like that. So
yeah, sweet guy.
Yeah, of course. So it sounds like other countries are organizing something. So I'd love that to become a thing. Like, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I feel like that's one of the strengths of Europe is that we have this country rivalry. You know, it's friendship, but it's also rivalry, and it's rivalry. I think that's the word in English, rivalry. Yeah. So it's very easy to get behind your team when your team is your country, you know, and it just makes sense. So every time we do it, it's always really hype, really loud. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's hype, but it never goes past the line into, you know, anything negative. It's hype and fun,
never.
which is the main thing.
No,
and that's
definitely.
What
and usually when people when like, for instance, I remember last year, me personally, I can't speak for the others. As soon as France was out, I went to the UK crowd and I stood behind the UK. You know, we lost to you, but it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
Like, people, they will still cheer. It's still the same thing. It's still melee. It's still family.
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
Last
but
thing.
You're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Last thing before I go, this is just kind of a thanks to you, and maybe a thanks that the listeners will pass on to you at some point. But Heir may never have happened, Mahie, if you hadn't have said at Heir 1, can you go? You messaged and you said, can I?
Are you serious?
Yeah. You said at Heir 1, can I attend? And I said, I said no, because it was a UK end of, it was like a UK circuit end.
Yeah, with the coins.
With the coins,
yeah,
to see who was best in the UK. And then we never really were committed to Heir 2. And then you also then messaged again saying, is Heir 2 happening? Will it be for Europe? And it was that is actually one of the triggers to me going, yes,
awesome.
We're gonna do Heir 2.
You never told me before.
No, I've never said that.
That's crazy.
I
never knew.
I thought I'd finish on that, and that little, you know, that triggered a thought that grew and became Heir 2 as a European tournament. So there we go, dude.
Well, you're welcome, man.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I did all the work after that, obviously, but
yeah. I didn't do any of the work, but apparently I got the idea somehow.
There you go. You triggered it. It was I never really thought I'd go outside of UK with it, but I did. So there we go, man. Anyway,
thank you too for doing it.
Yeah, man. We'll end it there, and just last little one to people listening. If you haven't yet, make sure you follow Mahie on SSB Mahie on Twitter, and you can follow myself at Kone, and also follow my new stream team at Big Good TV, where we are now the main stream in the UK, and our content, including this Conversations with Kone as a series, will be on Big Good. So you can see that, as I say again, Twitter at Big Good TV. Check us up on YouTube and Twitch as well. Other than that, Mahie,
I was not aware of this account.
Yeah, it's.
I just followed you. Now that it's done,
we'll be pushing it a lot more. We officially start streaming this Saturday, and then we'll be streaming major UK tournaments and Heir 4. As sadly, Smash House does not exist anymore, so we've stepped in. Other than that, though, dude, thank you very much for all your help and for your help. I don't know.
You're welcome.
For all your help. Yeah, let's go back to Heir, isn't it? But no, thank you very much for being here and chatting.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man,
that was a good time.
It's been great. Have a good evening. And I'll
you too, man.
Catch you later, man.
See ya.